Alrighty, happy Monday, folks. I see a few folks piling in here already. Trade Ideas Live Q&A. Open forum here, folks, for those questions. So don't be shy, get those questions in for me. Hopefully everybody had a nice holiday weekend. And again, don't be shy, folks. It's a live open forum here, so come one, come all with the questions. Don't be shy with them, please. You got this chart of N bio up there. It's one of the most races on my relative strength from the open. But, on that chart for trading it. I'm sure there are people that did well, probably on shorter time frames. 1 minute, see what that looks like. Yeah, some more tradable moves on a 1 minute chart than 5. Again, folks, open forum here, live open forum, so don't be shy. Get questions in for me. Wolf a little nicer looking on that 5 minute chart there. Still no questions. Still no questions. Don't be shy, folks. Get those questions in for me. Thank you, 3. Yeah, it was a nice weekend, very nice weekend. Thank you for asking. Hopefully the same for you as well. Let's see, got a question. So the short answer to that is, what does your trading plan say it is, right? Example that I give of this always when someone asks me these kinds of questions is this scan here I created for swing trading. It's my bread and butter scan for swing trading. I shared it with someone who was a day trader and was looking for a swing trading scan. And they said they used it as a day trading scan several months later, and they didn't understand how I used it as a swing trading scan. But that's what I created it for, right? That's what I wanted it. That's what I use it for. I've been using it for swing trading scan for several years now. They couldn't wrap their head around it being a swing trading scan. They just said it seems like a scan that's for day trading, and that was that. So it's really, what do you see? It becomes one of those things, and that's where technical analysis is so subjective. And got Rocket Lab here, right? And you got this thing moving up, and I'm looking at it because I had a position in it. And I closed it today. Looking up at it, and it's it's making new all-time highs here. But it's a swing trade or a day trade if you got in it today, right? So that's that's that there. But of course, Iris, I can absolutely share that with you. There you go. That's that scan. And nothing special about that scan. It just finds setups that I happen to like. Are all the setups in here ones that I like? Nope. Probably maybe less than 30%, maybe even less than 20%. But I go through chart by chart and take a look at them and see if they meet the criteria that I use. So you have to ask yourself this question, 3 Sharp. What criteria would you use for something to be a swing trade? What criteria would you use for it to be a day trade? And that's where you'll live with that answer for that question. Hindsight is going to be 2020. I'm going to look at this maybe in a day or two. If this breaks out above this level here and it ends up continuing on, I'll say, gee, I should have held it for a longer swing trade than I did. I got into it on, I guess that's Wednesday, right? Wednesday was the 2nd. I don't even know anymore. Yeah, so I got into it on Wednesday. Friday, it didn't do a whole lot today. Gapped up, gave a lot of that back. And as it was fighting around here at that 37 level, I got out just above 37 for modest gain. So again, keep the questions coming, folks. Don't be shy. All right, not much going on in the world of questions here, apparently. I'm well, Edwin. Thank you. How are you? Yeah, and that becomes a 3 Sharp. That becomes one of those things I always say. Beauty's in the eye of the chart holder, right? Here's something I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at this right here, and I'm looking at this right here. I'm looking at this big base here and almost cup and handle-ish a little bit here. And if we could break above that, I start to think about this as a swing trade here, but I wouldn't think of this as a day trade quite personally. But I'm really looking at a daily chart. I'm not really looking at 5-minute chart. So, I guess, someone looking at this for a day trade might have said, all right, this thing gapped and traded down, but if it were to make a recovery here, it might make for a good day trade. They would have been right. That thinking clearly would have been right. And that's hindsight. So, easy for me to pick on this one like that. But, when Barry looks at a daily chart, he's looking at where's there room to move up to that next level, looking at this for a day trade, right? So, here you're looking at, this level here, or this level here, if that's enough room for you, and where are you looking at that room to the upside versus where you could possibly head to the downside as a risk. The scanners, well, it depends on how the scanner is configured, but our scanning data goes 4 a.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern. But scanners got to be, in order to get pre-market data, scanners got to be configured for pre-market, same with post-market. So you don't have to watch this now, but I'll share a video I did on pre-market scanning. So it's a video that I did on pre-market scanning. If it ever decides to show. There we go. So you can go over that, bookmark that, but I'll go over some pre-market stuff for you now. Let's do let's do alert windows. So in the alert window configure, should it ever decide to load here? Eventually it has to, right? There we go. So new high, new low, those only work during market hours, right? So Edwin, if you can send an email to info@trade-ideas.com, I can get you a PDF of what will and will not work in the pre-market for alerts and filters. So like, for example, relative volume. This relative volume filter only works during regular market hours. The relative volume alert will work during pre-market. We have specific stuff for pre-market too. Pre-market highs, pre-market lows, above or below a pre-market high or low, position in pre-market range. And then there are other alerts as well that work in the pre-market. You're going to have your running up and running down families. All these alerts will work in the pre-market right here from here to here. You got different high alerts, 5-minute, 10-minute, 15, 30, 60-minute highs. Those all work in the pre-market. So if you can shoot an email over to that address that I just shared and get you a PDF of what does and does not work as far as the pre-market is concerned. The big ones to stay away from, just stay away from the relative volume filter in the pre-market, and just make sure you're using a selected alert that works in the pre-market. Now, here's, a thought and a tip. These pre-market highs and lows, and let's say you've got a stock that's really active in the pre-market. It makes a very early way up here pre-market high, and it's trading down here and starting to curl up now. More volumes coming into it. Well, if you're only using pre-market high, you're not going to get the alert, so you make it all the way up there. So that's where like the running up family of alerts will come in, or the 5-minute high, 10-minute high, so on and so forth. It'd be the flip side if you're looking at stuff that was breaking pre-market lows and you're way up here and you're trying to catch it for a fade, and its low is way down here, but it's up here now. Then you use the running down of the 5-minute low and so on and so forth. So that's where I would steer you towards in your early building of scanning for the pre-market. And then I would say take that video that I shared, bookmark that for later, because we're live here, so we might as well work together here now. But you can go over the video when we wrap up here later, tonight, tomorrow, whatever's convenient for you, obviously. So that's where I'd be living as far as the alert windows go in the pre-market. And Naveen, just give me one moment. I see your question. I'm going to get to it. And then with topless, a little different with topless. I'm building a pre-market scan on topless. The sort becomes very important. And you could sort on any filter. So I always tell people sort on the change from close filter if you want to see stuff up the most. Change from close dollar, change from close percent. You want to sort by that. And then build out the rest of the scan. There are volume filters that work in the pre-market, even though relative volume doesn't. So, you could be using things like volume and shares. You want to make sure the stock is going to be liquid enough. Volume percent today, that works in the pre-market. It's very similar to relative volume. Works on a 10-day average basis. So 100 is normal, 200 is 2 times, 300 is 3 times, so on and so forth. So if you have a stock that has done 100% of its normal volume for the day on average, it's already met its average. Anything more is extra. So in the pre-market, if you got something that's done 20, 30, 40, 50% of all of its day's volume in the pre-market, that could mean something significant going on in that regard. I always suggest to people, do not use, if you create something for the pre-market, it should just be for the pre-market. If you create something for regular market, it should just be for the regular market. They're completely different animals in scanning as far as, the technical analysis and things like that go, quite personally, in my opinion. So I don't think it's helpful or beneficial to have a scan run in the pre-market into the regular hours. That's my personal opinion. That's my personal experience. I'm not saying that everybody agrees with that or finds that the same. That's just me, though. There are obviously alerts and filters that work in both pre-market and regular hours. And I've got that PDF coming back to you momentarily here, Edwin. There we go. All right, so that's all set. All right, so a new user wanted to ask in channels, are the price of stocks almost real time? I compare with other platforms, so they're not matching. Was comparing with TradingView. Yeah, our data's in real time. If you compare it to time and sales to any broker, it should be matching up with time and sales on the charts and on the single stock window. In theory, it's like a less than a quarter second refresh. It's not technically tick data, but it's less than a quarter of a second refresh on the charts on the single stock windows. So they should be 100% in line with time and sales. For block trades, we just have one alert. That's it. We've got this block trade alert, and here's the help page on it if you're looking to read up in a definition. Are you Jay? You're a subscriber already, right, Jay? And Naveen, you're very welcome. And keep the questions coming. Anybody, or if I answer a question and you want a little more from me, or maybe I didn't answer it all the way you feel like, don't be shy to put it back up and say, hey, appreciate what you gave me, but, can we go a little further on this, or you have more insight on it? I've never created a scan with it. No, I've never used the block trades personally. I know it exists. I've had to troubleshoot some stuff with it in the past where people thought a block trade should be there that wasn't. some email stuff coming in that I had to answer. The only other thing I could think of with block trades, if you're familiar with custom formulas or the formula editor, I should say, it's not really customs, it's a formula editor. We do have shares over the last minute and 5 minutes. Might be I'm trying to think if we have other time frames too. I can't remember off the top of my head. You could use those formula editors and put like large values in there to kind of maybe confirm or weed out some other unwanted things. But I think the block trade alert itself is probably sufficient. That's my 2 cents on it, given the way I know it works. Yeah, I mean, you can do like the last, last 1, 5, 10, 15, and 30 minutes in shares traded. So you could use it kind of as a complement to it. I don't think it's really necessary, but, All right, good to know you got that, Edwin. Appreciate that. Excellent, excellent. All right, there we go. So again, anybody with questions, don't be shy. Get those questions in for me, please, please, please. Whoa, look at that from the SPY. Got a SPY chart up on my other screen, and just saw this happening here. There's some volume coming in, shadow down on the bounce now. Let's see what happens there. Again, anybody with questions, don't be shy. Please get those questions in for me. Okay. Tariff news. Isn't that fun? No. Leonardo, no, this is perfect right now. So, Leonardo, what we are is we're a scanning software, and folks can create their own custom scans from over 500 different 500 different data points that we offer. So we have different types of scans. This would be an alert window configure. Some of the window configures are very similar looking, just some different nuances in them. Alert window configure, and we can come in here and search different indicators and events like new highs, and there's prices and volume and stuff like that. We go ahead and create the scan. We give different filters values, and then any stocks that meet our scans get returned to us in real time. What we do from there is entirely up to us as traders. What we want to or don't want to do with that data. That's, Leonardo, what we are. Now, we just happen to connect to Interactive Brokers We connect through an interface we call Brokerage Plus here. And so we connect to Interactive Brokers, E-Trade, and Alpaca, and we have our own paper trader. And so I can connect, I can connect to the paper trader right now. And from there, I could execute, if I was connected to Interactive Brokers, I could execute trades manually like I was inside Interactive Brokers making the trades. And I could do it from my chart if I wanted to. And I can get a trade ticket like that, or I could get a trade ticket like this in the chart and buy, sell, or, shares, price, market, limit, all that stuff like that. And that's available on both the birdie or standard level, whatever you want to call it, and the premium level. On the premium level, you can create your own strategies for automation. It's the most advanced form of your software and trading and all that. I run into a lot of people that think for some reason there exist bots out there. You can just buy the bot and it will make you money. I got to be the crusher of hopes and dreams a lot and let people know that there's no such thing as that. If there was such thing as a bot that could just make you money, I'd be doing that already, and I'd be on a boat somewhere. We have Holly. That's our AI. There's no automation of Holly here, there, Edwin. So, Holly has these alerts here that have come in today. They come in real time when when a stock meets its strategy. You get an entry price. I like to call it an alert price. You get a suggested stop price with it. And from there, you figure out what you do or don't want to do with it. I have this set up to simulate like it's taking enough shares to risk $100 based on the stop loss, meaning that, for example, the CREV, let me put up the AI stuff here. So if I pretend like if I took this trade, I'm risking $100 based on the stop loss. So if this stop loss got hit, I'd only lose $100 essentially. And so that's what this max profit is here. That's how far it's gone on the money. So we can see this thing really ran off into the money. This did well as also apparently from the short side. This got into the money on the short side. Still in the money now. This got into the money on the long side. It's no longer in the money anymore. This never got into the money on the short side. And the same here. This got into the money on the long side. Money Machine. The Money Machine will allow you to automate these kind of races here, or top lists, or tree maps, whichever you prefer to use for the format. They're all the same kind of scan, essentially, just different way to display the data. Allow you to automate those in a dynamic way that doesn't currently exist and defies most market mechanics, actually. So that's what the Money Machine will allow for. So, Leonardo, if you have more questions, please get those in. That's just what I gave you, Leonardo, is just a big, broad overview of the software. I mean, there's so much more to the software than just that. You can set price alerts on charts. Like I said, there's different types of scanning. You can create this 500 data points for scan creation. So you can create stuff that, you want to see things that are spiking real fast, or you want to see stuff that's, above a certain moving average, so on and so forth. No, the Money Machine's not live. No date on it. We consistently told close. I know it is essentially the sole focus of everything that is going on around here behind the scenes, the Money Machine. I know how bad we want it out. I just, unfortunately, I can't say a date. Excuse me. When it first is ready for the public, it will be in sim mode only or paper mode only to make sure that kinks are worked out of it. And then at some point afterwards, will it be a week? Will it be a month? Will it be 3 months? I don't know. It will go to a live mode for those that are on the wait list. There isn't currently a wait list open. There's a wait list that opened and closed last year. Another wait list will probably open at some point. I have no date for that as well, the same as I don't have a date for when the Money Machine itself will be ready. So if I set up a scan in the parameters I want, this can still execute my trades for me, or only notifications. On the premium level, it could execute your trades, but you have to work within what we have here in the system. So what I tell people, the general path to automation is this. You have these alert events that are indicated by these single icons here: new high, new low, pullback from lows, It's up for the day, X percent or down percent. These are all alerts or events. This thing happened. This happened. Bang. So you pick one of those for your scan, and then you pick a series of filters. The filters are these dual icon ones here, and they get minimum and maximum values. So you pick these, whatever you want for filters and how you want the scan to search for stocks, and you'd give them values, minimum and maximum values in the Windows specific filters tab. And then generally people do some back testing and optimizing of their scan. And if they have something they think works well, they would first paper trade it in automation. And if that goes well, then they would move into live automation. And that's how that would go. So it's a process. It's not just like, hey, I got this scan. Can you just automate it? And that's it. There's a process to building it. You got to make sure that we have what you're looking for and so on and so forth, and then actually physically build it out. So we have partnerships with Centerpoint and Cobra, but we do not connect to Centerpoint and Cobra. We only connect to IBKR, E-Trade, and Alpaca. That's it. Alpaca, E-Trade, IBKR. Those are the only ones we directly connect with. And I've never used Centerpoint or Cobra, so I have no insights on either one of those. Yep, Leonardo, we have a lot of stuff. So I'll share with you our education page. Bear with me. There's a lot of good stuff on the education page. There's a user's guide. Now, most of our education is centered around the actual use of software itself. And then, Edwin, every single market day, we do this for an hour where you come and get questions answered, and we help that way. We have a live support chat on our homepage as well that you came into, and you can ask questions on the software there and get some help. And then we have a live traders room that runs from, it opens earlier than 9 a.m., but no one's going to be there to answer questions before 9 a.m. And it runs to about 3 o'clock Eastern. And you can get a lot of questions answered there as well. But let me get you the education page first. I think that's going to be one of the better links for you. And then, I tell people this. I'm a big believer in our software and what it can do for folks. I have no financial background whatsoever. And while I'm not the greatest trader on the planet, I make a little bit of money trading while I also work for Trade Ideas, and I no longer have to do the jobs that I used to have to do. But it took time, and before I subscribed to Trade Ideas, I came to these kinds of webinars a lot, the Traders Room, got myself an education on the software, and then eventually I subscribed to the software and moved forward like that. So. Edwin, that is unbelievable. Absolutely love to hear that. I'm going to take a screenshot of that, if you don't mind, and share that with the team. It's a big deal to us to hear that. We get a lot of hate mail. So when we get some positive comments, it means a lot to us, actually. So thank you very much. We really appreciate hearing that. In the Windows specific alert, filter says average daily volume 10-day. Is not total volume over 10-day period. It's just the daily volume average over that. Yes, exactly. So if, let's just say, for example, every day the stock traded 1 million shares for 10 days, you'd have 1 million average, right? Now, if it traded just above and below that million average, but the average of that was 1 million, that's what you would get in that regard. Thank you, Edwin. It's phenomenal to hear. It really matters to us. It matters to me a lot, anyways. This is hard. What we're doing here is hard. There's no easy button on trading, right? There's no easy button on trading. And what we try to convey, and what I like to try to convey to people, is we're the tools. If you were an engineer and you were building a bridge across, the Hudson River or the Rio Grande or whatever it was, you're building a major bridge across a major river, right? You need all these tools to do it, but you also need education on how to, engineer this whole thing, design, and what to use and how to use it and when to use it. Well, so that, you got to come up with those designs with Trade Ideas. We're the tools, but you got to, you put that all together. So, all right, Glenn, yep, glad that helps clarify that for you. And, I would say this, I'd venture a guess that Edwin has some kind of trading plan that he's executing. So, I'm going to guess he has some, some scans that he has set up based around what he's looking for in the software. And then, and then he's executing according to his trading and risk management plan. Generally, for most people, maybe not all, I know for myself, a risk management plan, a trading plan includes, what makes me interested in a stock. If I'm interested, what would be my stop loss if I got into it? If I got into, and why would it be my stop loss? If I got into it, why would I get into it, and at what price? Why would I do that? And if I got into it and the trade went well, the last thing I'm concerned with is how do I manage it to the upside, that trade and the profit, right? But the first things I'm concerned with is what am I interested in, why? And next, what would be my stop loss and why? Because that's what we are. We're risk managers and we're trend followers for the most part anyways. So again, don't be shy. Keep them coming with the questions. Greatly appreciate. Like this interaction. Phenomenal. How do I get the bid ask on the chart? No bid ask on the chart. Sorry. Just last price here. That's all we have. I should say here. Well, here and here. Up here. Let me circle this to make it easier. Got last price here and you got last price there. This, what you see here, is just where Holly called an entry and a stop. So, all right, good stuff. Good stuff. Very much enjoying the session. Thank you, folks, for being here again. All right, there we go. You are very welcome, Edwin. Have a great day. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next one. Appreciate you being here. Alrighty. There we go. There we go. Sorry, just making sure I'm kept up with questions here, and there's some stuff coming in email too. That should be the average volume for the 10 days. So let me duplicate this, duplicate, and expand it out. And I can add to that. Here we go. Configure, search. No, it's right there. Show column. Okay. And so yeah, the stock right here, it's averaging 2.56 million shares per day over the last 10 days. Today, obviously, it's going crazy right now. You look at that right there, right? So this is what it's averaging over the coming into today. So today would be day 11, right? And back here you have days 1 through 10, and that would be giving you this right there. I said alerts for price action and make sure they're not receiving an audio alert. I do have the play sound alert set. The trigger. On the price alerts, just it works like anything else. So if you come to actions, make sure play sound is checked. Go to setup sound. Make sure it's set up in here. Test it. And that's really it. I mean, if you have other sounds that are coming in and this is set up like that, there shouldn't be any reason it's not coming in. We don't have relative volume over a 15-minute period of time. We do have a 15-minute volume. It's kind of sort of like the relative volume. So it takes a 10-day average of 15-minute time frames and breaks it down like that. So 100 is normal, 200 is 2 times, 300 3 times, 400 is 4 times. So, I mean, I could isolate an alert window over that period of time and see what the 15-minute volume was doing and a bunch of alerts. So it's and Carolyn, is there any chance that you have other audio alerts going off at the same time those audio alerts might be going off? Because if you have multiple audio alerts at once, something's likely to get drowned out. And then I would say, on that question, Jay, what we could do as an exercise is this. No. I don't have an off the hand answer for you, Carolyn. Yeah, if you've got it selected there and you have other sound alerts coming in, there's no logical reason I could come up with. There's no other hidden function on this. It's just here. Can you test other sounds and see if they work and just set price alerts to try and trigger and see if any of the sounds work? That's where I'd go with right now is, setting a price alert and just constantly triggering it, trying the different sounds. And then, Jay, to your question here, I mean, if you were really curious to know what that was doing, this is what I would do here. We know that SPY was making some new lows on the day and 5-minute lows. So let's go with a new low. I'm going to add that alert. I also wanted to add the 5-minute low anyway, so that's there. Let's get rid of that. And now, let's look at the 15-minute volume. We're going to type in 15-minute volume. That's percent. We're going to show that column, right? And so in the window-specific filter is not doing anything here. And on columns, I'm going to get rid of change from open. I don't care about that. Now in the symbols list, I'm going to tell this only look at the SPY. All right, now we're going to look at it from that time period here. So what time did that start going off? So we'll say 12:15 to 12:45 for fun. Time frame 12:46 is fine. We'll go 12:15 p.m. And we can see here, never got too crazy. So up around 135, 140, 147. So right in here, that was your highest 15 minutes. So it was doing 1.46, 1.47 times what it's normally doing around here. around 12:22 p.m. Eastern. So this was the big spike here. I would go with the beta. Just go with the beta. It's going to have some of these new chart tools on it for trading off the charts. If you don't use it, so be it, but it won't hurt you to be on it. That's generally my suggestion. Some people don't like to be on beta software. I get it. I get it. I can't fault them for that. But I'm always on the beta. So on occasion, I'm on a beta version that's out in front of the public. For the most part, I'm on beta versions that are accessible to the public, but I do testing, internal testing also. But yeah, so Jay, that's how I would do that if I really wanted to know what something was doing. I'd isolate that specific stock and get the filter, either the exact filter or filter that was closest. Now, what we can see here is this too. Look how the SPY's relative volume was down here below 1. And as we saw these numbers shoot up here on the 15-minute volume, and the volume increased, it got that relative volume number to tick up as well. And the relative volume on the SPY is still kicking at 1.15 now. And at the beginning of that whole thing, it was at 1.91 when that sell-off first started. Sorry, it was at 0.91 when that first started happening. Yeah, I mean, it was a good size one, but look, here's from last week on the close from Friday, similar to that right there. Here's the close from Tuesday. Here's the close from Monday, right? So I mean that's massive, and it trumps all these other ones here. And it's just an accumulative total on those volumes, whether it's up or down, doesn't matter. It's just saying that's the volume that was done. And even if we come in and scroll a little more, we can see other larger volume bars on 15-minute time frames over the 10 days. So that's why you can have one bar on the day look really significant that day, but compare it over the 10 days, and when you'll see not always, but if you see bars that are that much more significant, that's where that's coming in. But no, that's a good question, and this is kind of a power user thing we just did there, isolating a stock like that and really digging into what it did at a period of time. So got a couple more minutes for a wrap up for the day here, folks. Please don't be shy and get questions in for me. Got any questions? Really want to make sure I help that. Oh, sorry, Glenn. I missed that before. I apologize. In order of execution, I think all three are the same. I've never used Alpaca or E-Trade. I've only used Interactive Brokers. I've used Interactive Brokers, Fidelity, and Thinkorswim. Those don't all connect to trade ideas. I've just used them all in the past. From my general experience, a broker is a broker is a broker is a broker. Unless you're looking for very specific things, for example, E-Trade doesn't have a good short book whatsoever. I have no idea about Alpaca's short book. Interactive Brokers has an okay short book. It's not great, but it's not as bad as E-Trade, for example. When it comes to our direct connection to those three, our E-Trade has a lot of restrictions with shorts, meaning you can't short stocks through an API with E-Trade. So if you're looking to do short selling, you don't want E-Trade, at all when you're connecting to trade ideas. E-Trade doesn't charge for data, live data, to use the API. Interactive Brokers does. Alpaca doesn't. But E-Trade's API sometimes can be a little unreliable with the orders going through in the first 10 minutes the market's open. That's the regular session, first 10 minutes. Alpaca has never had any issues as far as I understand, and Interactive Brokers never has any issues, that I know for sure. But, you got to pay more money to use Interactive Brokers. They charge, it's like $14.50 a month for their API data. If you have $30 in commissions or more in the month, that becomes $4.50 instead. So, those are things to consider and understand. Pepe is a little less sugar-coated than I am. Avoid E-Trade. No, IBKR Lite doesn't have an API. You'd have to ask IBKR why they don't have an API for their Lite. That's their business decision. I would guess it's because they want to charge people for the API data, and the Lite doesn't do that. So it's a free version of, trading through IBKR. I can also say this about Interactive Brokers. Back when the world was ending during COVID and brokers just kept shutting down or crashing and you couldn't place trades, Interactive Brokers didn't have any problems. When that tariff news first came out and people couldn't make trades in a lot of brokers, Interactive Brokers didn't have any problems. So, while those are rare occasions, those could be rare occasions that are a big deal to a trader, and it becomes one of those you get what you pay for things. I mean, I've used IB forever. Barry's used IB forever. Unless you're trading, 15, 20,000 shares at a time. And if you are, your profit should also kind of be reflecting that share size. The commission shouldn't really mean much of anything to you. I'm confident in saying Barry has been a very, very, very successful day trader for 20 some odd years with Interactive Brokers. And he has never once complained about commissions through IB. I have no idea what share size Barry takes, or anything like that. But he seems to always be happy. I don't know anybody more happy with IB than Barry. I bounced around different brokers when I was a new trader because I wanted to try different stuff. When I first started trading, I had a beyond anemically small account. I couldn't even use Interactive Brokers because of their minimums. Those minimums are mostly gone. Obviously, you still have to deal with, regulation rules of pattern day trader and stuff like that. That has nothing to do with the broker. That's all oversight from the government. So, all right, folks, we're coming up on 1 p.m. Eastern where I'm going to wrap things up. So I'm going to start to make last call for any questions before I finish up for the day here. Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's a two-way street with this, and nobody wants to play the two-way street with the brokers. We tried to link to Thinkorswim when they were TD Ameritrade. Their API doesn't work. They have no interest in fixing it. We're not going in and fixing their API for them. That's not going to happen. Fidelity does not have an API as a company policy, or public API anyways as a company policy, so no possible way to link to them. Robinhood, I'm not going to get started there, but no. Webull hasn't responded to any inquiries that we've made to them over the last several years, so nothing we can do there. So it's got to be a two-way street for some of these things. We can't just do it on our own. I can tell you that we have started a connection with TradeStation that is actively being worked on now. Will it be done in 3 weeks? Will it be done in 3 years? I have no idea. It'll definitely be done before 3 years, unless it just can't be done. But TradeStation is working very closely with us on that. So I think it's possible we see that TradeStation connection before the end of this calendar year. Yeah, well, their API data is wonky and unreliable at best. I was the one that beta tested the TOS connection, and I'd been using TOS for years at that point, and it was very unreliable what it was showing in your portfolio. The orders did not go through properly. Orders would show like they were there when they actually weren't. A lot of stuff like that. So when we approach them and say, hey, this, and this aren't actually working with your API, they said, okay. And that was the end of the conversation. So thus is life. Yes, they have a horrendous API. That is correct. So I don't know, whoever's using it with them, I throw caution to the wind. That's all I could say. So, all right, folks, we're coming up on 1 o'clock. That will do it for me for the day here. The last thing I always like to say is if you are not in the live traders room with Barry, you are doing yourself the world's largest disservice without any question. And you may be asking yourself, how do I get there? And this is how you get there. That link will get you to Barry's trading room. So we thank you all kindly for joining us. Appreciate all the questions and comments, the interaction. Another great session. And I don't know, it could be here tomorrow. It could be here another day. Who knows? You never know these days what the schedule is going to shake out to be. So I will see you when I see you. Thank you all again. Have a great, great trading week if I don't see you before next Monday. Bye-bye.